The ancient orbital defense platform Aegis hung against the star-speckled backdrop of space, its weathered hull catching the first rays of Earth's sunrise. Commander Sarah Chen watched through the observation dome as the massive structure slowly rotated, its solar arrays adjusting to capture the maximum amount of light. To most of the spacefaring community, Aegis was nothing more than an orbital museum piece, a relic from humanity's first ventures into space defense. But Sarah knew better. She touched the cold glass of the observation window, her reflection overlaying the platform's silhouette. At 42, she'd spent the last 15 years of her career maintaining what most considered a waste of resources. The Space Force had tried multiple times to decommission the platform entirely, but a mysterious directive from the highest levels of government had kept it operational, if only barely. "Commander, you might want to see this." Lieutenant James Rodriguez's voice crackled through her neural implant. Sarah turned away from the window, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor as she made her way to the command center. The corridors of the maintenance station were quiet, staffed by a skeleton crew of only 30 people. Most modern defense platforms ran themselves, their AI systems requiring minimal human oversight. The command center was a strange blend of old and new technology. Holographic displays floated alongside analog gauges and physical switches, an arrangement that had earned more than a few snickers from visiting officers. Rodriguez sat at his station, his dark eyes fixed on a display that showed readings from the platform's long-range detection array. "What am I looking at, Lieutenant?" Sarah asked, leaning over his shoulder. The screen showed a cascade of numbers and wavelength patterns that made her frown. She'd never seen anything quite like it. "That's just it, Commander. We're not sure." Rodriguez manipulated the display, zooming in on a particular sequence. "These signals started appearing about 6 hours ago. They're unlike anything in our database, and they're not following any known communication protocols." Sarah's frown deepened. The platform's detection array was old, using what many considered obsolete technology. But unlike modern quantum-based systems, it could detect signals that newer equipment might miss. "Have you reported this to Central Command?" "Yes, Mom." Rodriguez hesitated. "They suggested we might need to recalibrate our sensors. Said the readings were probably just background noise." Of course they did, Sarah thought. Modern military doctrine relied heavily on AI analysis and quantum computing. The idea that an old platform might detect something their advanced systems missed would be dismissed out of hand. She straightened up, making a decision. Run a full diagnostic on the array, but keep tracking those signals. And contact Dr. Emily Santos at the Lunar Observatory. Send her the data and ask for her opinion. Emily was one of the few scientists who still studied pre-quantum detection methods. She might see something others had missed. As Sarah turned to leave, a new alert flashed across the main screen. The signals had changed. They were stronger now, and there was a pattern emerging. Sarah felt the hair on the back of her neck stand up as she studied the new data. These weren't random space phenomena. They were organized, purposeful. "Commander," Rodriguez's voice was tense. "The signals. They're getting closer." Sarah activated her neural implant, connecting to the platform's secure communication system. "This is Commander Chen. I need all senior staff in the command center immediately." She paused, then added, "and begin warming up the platform's primary systems." The order would raise eyebrows. The platform's primary systems were supposed to be purely ceremonial now, maintained only for historical accuracy. But Sarah had followed every bizarre maintenance protocol, every odd requirement that had come down from above over the years. She'd wondered many times if she was just maintaining an expensive museum piece. Now, as the strange signals grew stronger, she suspected she was about to find out the truth. As her crew assembled, Sarah walked to a section of the command center that most visitors assumed was just for show. Behind a panel marked historical display was a keypad that hadn't seen use in decades. Sarah input a code she'd memorized years ago, but never used. The panel slid aside, revealing a room that hadn't existed in any official blueprint for over 50 years. Inside, banks of old computers hummed to life, their displays showing information in formats that would be unrecognizable to most modern operators. But Sarah understood them. She'd been trained to understand them, though she'd never known why. Until now. On the main screen, a message appeared in simple green text. Com and NGNCYPR Tokigo alpha activated. Awaiting authorization. Sarah took a deep breath and began typing. Whatever was approaching Earth, she had a feeling humanity was about to learn why some old weapons were never truly retired. The real question was, would anyone believe their warnings before it was too late? As she worked, more signals appeared on the detection array. They were no longer subtle or hidden. Whatever was out there wanted to be seen now. Sarah looked at the worried faces of her crew and managed a small smile. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we're about to make history. Let's just hope we're ready for what comes next. The platform's ancient systems continued their startup sequence, each successful activation confirming what Sarah had long suspected. This wasn't just a museum piece. It was a weapon, disguised as a relic, waiting for the day when humanity would need its particular brand of defense. As the strange signals grew stronger, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if that day had finally arrived. The emergency alert pierced through the quiet hum of Aegis's command center, its harsh tone making several crew members jump. Sarah's neural implant buzzed with incoming data as reports flooded in from Earth's outer defense network. The strange signals they detected had materialized into something far more terrifying than anyone had anticipated. Multiple contacts detected near Jupiter's orbit, Rodriguez announced, his fingers dancing across his console. They're massive. Largest contact is approximately 15 kilometers in length. He paused, double-checking his readings. Ma'am, they're moving faster than anything we've ever recorded. Sarah watched as the holographic display showed the approaching vessels. Their design was alien in every sense of the word. Organic curves blended with geometric patterns that seemed to defy conventional engineering. But it was their speed that worried her most. They were covering distance in ways that shouldn't be possible. Any response from Earth Defense Command? She asked, though she already knew the answer. The modern military infrastructure relied heavily on quantum communications and AI-driven response systems, systems that had gone mysteriously silent in the last hour. Nothing, Commander. Lieutenant Maria Patol reported from the communications station. All quantum channels are experiencing unprecedented interference. We're getting scattered reports through conventional channels. But she hesitated. Ma'am, the reports aren't good. Our defense platforms aren't responding as expected. Sarah nodded grimly. She'd suspected this might happen. It was why the Aegis platform had been maintained with such seemingly obsolete technology. Switch all communications to pre-quantum protocols. Radio, laser signaling, everything we used before the AI revolution. And get me a direct line to Admiral Chen. Her crew looked at her in surprise. Admiral James Chen, her father, had retired years ago, but Sarah knew he wasn't spending his retirement playing golf. He'd been one of the architects of the Aegis program, and now she understood why he'd insisted she take this assignment. As her crew worked to establish old-style communications, Sarah accessed the hidden room's main computer. The green text display showed that all systems were now online, revealing capabilities that no one had suspected the old platform possessed. Hidden weapon systems, shield generators that operated on principles abandoned decades ago, and most importantly, a command and control system that ran on hardware that predated quantum computing. Commander, Rodriguez's voice was urgent. The alien vessels, they're launching something. Thousands of small objects spreading out across the solar system. The holographic display showed the objects dispersing like seeds in the wind, each one heading toward a different human installation or settlement. As they watched, the first ones reached their targets. The effects were immediate and devastating. Mars Defense Platform Alpha is gone. Paddle reported, her voice shaking. Beta and Gamma as well. Their quantum cores just collapsed. Everything running on modern AI is shutting down. Sarah's neural implant crackled to life with a voice she hadn't heard in months. Sarah, are you there? Her father's voice was clear despite using ancient radio technology. I'm here, Admiral. I take it you're seeing this. We all are. The other sites are coming online now. Aegis isn't the only platform we kept in reserve. Is your system fully activated? Sarah checked the status displays. Yes, sir. Though I have to admit, I'm still not entirely sure what we've activated. She could hear the grim smile in her father's voice. What you've activated, Commander, is humanity's insurance policy. We knew this day might come, the day when our advanced technology could be turned against us. That's why we maintained the old platforms, disguised as museums and historical sites. Sometimes the best place to hide something is in plain sight. A new alert drew Sarah's attention. The alien vessels had changed course. They were heading directly for Earth now. Their speed still defied known physics, but something else had changed too. More signals were appearing on their old detection array. Signals coming from Earth. All across the planet, hidden facilities were powering up. Ancient missile silos that everyone thought had been filled with concrete decades ago, naval vessels that had been preserved for historical value, and orbital platforms like Aegis, all of them coming to life, revealing their true nature. Commander, Rodriguez called out, we're receiving targeting data from multiple sources. These platforms, they're all linked together. They always have been. Sarah smiled as she understood the full scope of what she was seeing. Humanity hadn't put all its eggs in one basket. While they'd pushed forward with new technology, they'd maintained a hidden network of older systems, waiting for the day they might be needed. All stations, battle positions, she ordered. Begin charging main weapon systems, and get me a secure channel to all active platforms. It's time to show our visitors that humanity doesn't forget its old tricks. As her crew rushed to comply, Sarah studied the approaching alien fleet. They'd come expecting to face a civilization dependent on advanced technology, one they could easily disable with their superior capabilities. Instead, they were about to face something far more dangerous, a species that remembered its history and learned from it. The first shots would be fired soon, and Sarah had a feeling the aliens were in for a surprise. Sometimes, the old ways were the best ways, and humanity had never fully abandoned them. They'd just gotten very good at hiding them. The first shot from Aegis platform's main cannon wasn't the quantum lance that modern warships favored, nor was it the plasma burst that civilian observers might have expected from an obsolete weapon. Instead, it was something far simpler and far more clever. A concentrated burst of charged particles, accelerated through magnetic coils that had been disguised as structural supports. The alien vessel's liquid metal surface rippled as it attempted to adapt. But this wasn't the quantum energy it was designed to redirect. The particle beams struck home, carving a glowing channel across the ship's hull. For the first time since they'd entered the solar system, an alien vessel showed signs of damage. Direct hit, Lieutenant Rodriguez announced, his voice tight with controlled excitement. Their adaptive shielding couldn't compensate for the particle stream's velocity. Sarah nodded, watching as the alien ship's surface churned, trying to repair itself. Send targeting data to all other platforms. They'll be adapting their defenses. We need to coordinate our attacks. Around Earth's orbit, other museum platforms were coming online, their crews discovering the same hidden capabilities that Sarah's team had found. Each platform had been equipped with different weapon systems, all based on principles that predated quantum technology. Some fired hyperaccelerated projectiles, others used focused microwave beams or gravitational distortion fields generated by old-style rotating masses. The alien fleet's response was immediate and devastating. Their ships split apart like mercury droplets, forming smaller, faster vessels that streaked toward the defense platforms. Energy weapons lashed out, trying to overwhelm the supposedly primitive defenses. But Sarah and her crew were ready. "Activate point defense systems," she ordered. Instead of the energy shields that protected modern vessels, panels on Aegis's hull slid aside to reveal rows of rapidly rotating mirrors. The alien energy weapons reflected harmlessly into space, their coherent beams scattered by surfaces that had been quantum-etched to create microscopic imperfections in precisely calculated patterns. "Multiple hostile contacts, closing fast," Paddle reported from her station. "They're trying to surround us." "Let them come," Sarah replied, moving to the weapons control station. "Initiate defense pattern Delta, and someone get me a secure line to the other platform commanders." The next few minutes were chaos as the alien ships pressed their attack. But for every advanced tactic they employed, the old platforms had a counterpart born from centuries of human military experience. When the aliens tried to use quantum fields to disrupt electronics, they found systems that ran on optical computers and mechanical relays. When they attempted to hack communication channels, they encountered radio waves carrying signals encoded with one-time pads and book severs. "Commander," Kumar's voice came through the internal comm system, "we're picking up something strange. The aliens, they're talking to each other." Sarah moved to his station, examining the data. The alien ships were indeed communicating, using quantum channels that should have been undetectable. But the old platform sensors, designed to detect a much broader range of phenomena, were picking up faint echoes of their transmissions. "They're frustrated," Kumar said, his eyes scanning the partial translations their computers were generating. "Their standard tactics aren't working. I think they've never encountered anything like this before." A new alert caught Sarah's attention. One of the larger alien vessels was changing configuration, its liquid metal surface forming into something that looked almost like traditional weapon arrays. "They're adapting," she realized. "Moving away from pure energy weapons, all platforms prepare for kinetic impacts." The alien ship fired, launching streams of accelerated particles similar to their own weapons. But humanity had been fighting wars with physical projectiles for millennia. The defense platform's point defense systems tracked and intercepted the attacks with practiced efficiency. "We're holding them," Rodriguez reported, though strain showed in his voice. "But our power reserves are dropping. We can't keep this up forever." Sarah knew he was right. The platforms were working as designed, proving that humanity's redundant approach to military technology had merit. But they needed to do more than just defend. They needed to win. She opened a channel to all platforms. "This is Commander Chen. The aliens are learning, adapting to our old weapons. But that's what these platforms were built for, to keep changing, to keep surprising them. Begin cycling through weapon configurations. Don't let them predict our next move." The battle continued, spreading across Earth's orbit as the alien fleet engaged more and more of the hidden platforms. Each engagement revealed new surprises, weapons and defenses that combined ancient principles with modern materials in ways that the aliens' advanced technology couldn't easily counter. But Sarah could see the larger pattern emerging. The aliens weren't just adapting their tactics. They were learning, studying each weapon system as it was revealed. Given enough time, they would find countermeasures. The question was, could humanity spring enough surprises to win before that happened? "New contacts," Paddle called out suddenly. "Massive energy signatures approaching from the outer system. It's their main fleet." Sarah felt her heart sink as she saw the readings. The ships they'd been fighting were just the advance force. The real battle was about to begin, and despite their initial success, she wasn't sure if their hidden platforms had enough surprises left to face what was coming. But as she watched her crew working at their stations, combining old technology and new in ways the aliens had never seen, she felt a surge of pride. Humanity had prepared for this, had maintained these platforms through decades of peace, because someone had understood a fundamental truth. The best defense isn't always the newest technology, but the wisdom to keep your options open. "All hands," she announced, her voice carrying through every compartment of the platform. "Prepare for round 2. Let's show them what else we've been keeping in our museums. The alien main fleet emerged from hyperspace like a storm of liquid mercury, thousands of ships moving in perfect synchronization. Their arrival disrupted Earth's quantum communication networks completely, plunging modern defense systems into chaos. But in the command center of Aegis platform, Sarah Chen watched through old-style optical telescopes, her expression grim but determined. "Status report on all platforms," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension visible in her shoulders. 17 platforms still fully operational, Rodriguez responded, working both holographic and physical controls. Another 12 damaged but functional. "We've lost 5. He paused, checking another display. The good news is that Admiral Wong's Lunar Defense Group has managed to reactivate the old mass driver network. They're ready to coordinate with us. Sarah nodded, studying the tactical display. The first wave of alien ships had taught them costly but valuable lessons. Each engagement revealed more about how their advanced technology worked, and more importantly, how it could be countered with simpler, more robust systems. "Commander," Kumar called from his station, "I finished analyzing the data from the last battle. They're liquid metal hulls. They're not just for defense. The whole ship is basically one giant quantum computer. That's why our old tech works against them. They literally can't process what we're doing fast enough to counter it." Before Sarah could respond, new alerts flashed across every screen. The alien fleet was moving, spreading out into an attack formation that seemed to defy normal space geometry. At the center of their formation, a massive vessel began to transform, its surface flowing like quicksilver until it resembled a giant fractal antenna. "Energy spike," Patel shouted. "They're powering up something big." The alien flagship fired, but instead of a conventional energy weapon, it released a wave of quantum distortion that rippled through space itself. Modern satellites and defense systems went dark instantly. Even some of the older platforms struggled as their electronic systems experienced impossible interference patterns. But Aegis held steady. In the months before Sarah had taken command, the platform had undergone a mysterious retrofit, replacing key systems with what had seemed like unnecessarily primitive technology. Now she understood why. The platform's critical systems ran on mechanical computers, their calculations performed by precisely engineered gears and levers that were immune to quantum interference. "Get me a line to all remaining platforms," Sarah ordered, moving to the central command station. "Use the old radio network, and someone wake up our sleeper systems." Deep within Aegis, hidden behind false walls and dummy panels, a new set of weapons began to power up. But these weren't the simple particle beams and kinetic weapons they'd used before. These were something else. Hybrid systems that combine primitive principles with bleeding-edge materials in ways that even modern science had trouble explaining. "All platforms reporting ready," Rodriguez announced. "Admiral Wong's mass drivers are online. They're waiting for your command." Sarah took a deep breath, remembering all the strange training exercises, all the seemingly pointless maintenance routines that had prepared them for this moment. "Initialize the Faraday protocol," she ordered. "All platforms, coordinate your fields with the lunar mass drivers. Timing has to be perfect." The alien fleet pressed their attack, their ships morphing into new configurations as they approached Earth orbit. But something was different now. Their movements seemed less certain, their reactions slightly delayed. The quantum interference that had crippled Earth's modern defenses was affecting their own systems as well, forcing them to fight in a more conventional manner. That was exactly what Sarah had been waiting for. "Now," she commanded. Every surviving platform activated their hidden weapons simultaneously. But they weren't firing at the alien ships directly. Instead, they created a complex web of overlapping electromagnetic fields, while the lunar mass drivers launched precisely timed payloads of magnetized dust. The effect was subtle at first, a slight disruption in the alien ship's liquid metal surfaces, a momentary lag in their responses. Then the true purpose of the attack became clear. The aliens' quantum-based technology required perfect coherence to function. The crude but carefully calculated electromagnetic fields were creating zones of quantum decoherence, forcing their ships to operate in a more conventional manner. "It's working," Kumar reported excitedly. "Their hulls can't maintain quantum stability. They're solidifying." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "All platforms, switch to conventional weapons. Target their command and control nodes. Let's show them what happens when they have to fight fair." The battle that followed was unlike anything in human military history. The alien ships, stripped of their most advanced capabilities, found themselves facing an enemy that had never forgotten how to fight with simpler, more reliable weapons. Particle beams and kinetic rounds tore through their now vulnerable hulls. Old-style nuclear missiles, their detonations precisely timed to overlap with the electromagnetic fields, created expanding bubbles of disruption that forced more ships into normal space. But the aliens weren't defeated yet. Their main fleet was vast, and even without their quantum technology, they were formidable opponents. As Sarah watched the battle unfold, she knew they needed something more. One final surprise to turn the tide completely. "Kumar," she called out, "is the package ready?" The chief engineer nodded solemnly. "Yes, Commander. But we'll only get one shot at this. If it doesn't work—" "It'll work," Sarah interrupted, "because we understand something they don't." She looked around at her crew, seeing the same determination in their eyes that she felt. Sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one. Sometimes it's the one that's been tested by time. She turned back to the tactical display, watching as the alien fleet regrouped for another assault. Humanity had preserved its old weapons and techniques not out of sentimentality, but because deep down, they understood that true strength comes from diversity, from having many different ways to solve a problem. Now it was time to prove that wisdom right. The alien flagship loomed in Aegis platform's main viewport, its liquid metal surface now partially crystallized by the electromagnetic disruption fields. Around it, the battle for Earth's orbit raged as humanity's hidden defenses continued their assault. But Sarah Chen's attention was focused on a small display showing a countdown timer. "All platforms are in position," Rodriguez reported, his voice hoarse from hours of continuous combat. "Admiral Wong confirms the lunar mass drivers are ready for the final sequence." Sarah nodded, her eyes never leaving the countdown. What they were about to attempt went beyond merely combining old and new technology. It was a gamble based on a theory about the fundamental nature of their enemy's superiority. "Kumar, status on the package." The chief engineer's voice came through crackling with interference. "Final calibrations complete, Commander. But I should note again that this is completely untested. The math works, but—" "The whole platform is one big experiment," Sarah interrupted gently. "We've come too far to play it safe now." She opened a channel to all remaining platforms. "All stations, this is Commander Chen. Initialize final sequence. Remember your training. Timing is everything." The alien fleet was regrouping, their ships moving into new formations as they adapted to fighting without their quantum advantages. But even handicapped, they were formidable. Energy beams and exotic weapons fire filled space, overwhelming several more of the defensive platforms. "They're launching another quantum pulse," Patel warned. "Bigger than before." "Let them," Sarah replied calmly. "That's exactly what we want." The alien flagship's surface rippled as it prepared to fire, gathering energy for what they likely hoped would be a knockout blow. But they didn't understand what humanity had hidden in its museums or why. "Now," Sarah commanded. Every surviving platform activated their special systems simultaneously, but instead of attacking, they created a complex pattern of overlapping fields, electromagnetic, gravitational, and others that defied easy classification. The lunar mass drivers launched their payloads with precise timing, each impact adding to the growing disturbance. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The alien flagship fired its quantum pulse, the energy wave expanding outward. But when it hit the carefully crafted field pattern, something extraordinary occurred. "Kumar," Sarah called out. "Are you seeing this?" "Yes, Commander." The engineer's voice was filled with excitement. "The quantum resonance is perfectly aligned. It's working exactly as the theorists predicted." The aliens' own weapon had become their undoing. The quantum pulse, caught in the web of human-made fields, created a cascade effect. The distortion spread from ship to ship, forcing more and more of their liquid metal hulls to crystallize permanently. "Their quantum cohesion is failing across the entire fleet," Rodriguez reported. "They're trying to revert to conventional systems. But they can't," Sarah finished, "because they never maintained them. They thought quantum technology made everything else obsolete." She allowed herself a small smile. "That's the difference between us. Humanity never completely abandons its old tools." The alien fleet was in chaos now. Ships that had been virtually invincible were suddenly vulnerable to conventional weapons. Some tried to flee, but their hyperspace systems failed to function within the disruption field. Others attempted to fight back with primitive weapons of their own, but they had no experience with such basic combat. "All platforms, commence final attack," Sarah ordered. "Coordinate with Admiral Wong's mass drivers. Let's finish this." The battle that followed was brief but decisive. The defensive platforms, using everything from particle beams to simple kinetic weapons, tore through the now vulnerable alien fleet. Ships that could have easily shrugged off quantum weapons fell to technologies that had been obsolete before humanity reached space. Hours later, Sarah stood at the observation dome, watching as cleanup crews began dealing with the debris field that had once been an invading armada. Behind her, Kumar cleared his throat. "Commander, we've managed to decrypt some of their communication logs. It's interesting. They've never encountered a species that maintained older technology alongside new developments. They thought we were primitive because we kept these platforms operational." Sarah nodded, unsurprised. "They forgot something important about humanity, Chief. We learn from history. We know that every tool, every technology, has its place. True advancement isn't about replacement, it's about addition." Her neural implant buzzed with new messages as Earth's quantum networks came back online. Modern defense systems were reactivating, and already there were calls from Central Command, demanding explanations about the mysterious platforms that had saved Earth. "They'll want to decommission us again," Rodriguez said, joining them at the window. "Say we're not needed now, that the threat is gone." "No," Sarah replied confidently, "because now they understand. These platforms aren't relics or museums. They're reminders that humanity's greatest strength isn't our most advanced technology. It's our ability to use everything at our disposal, our willingness to learn from the past while looking to the future." She turned to face her crew, seeing the pride in their tired faces. They had proven that humanity's habit of preserving old technology alongside new wasn't a sign of sentimentality or inefficiency. It was a form of wisdom that their enemies had failed to understand until it was too late. "Besides," she added with a smile, "someone saw this coming once before, planned for it, kept these platforms ready." She looked out at the stars, where the cleanup crews were still working. "I have a feeling they saw other possibilities too. Other threats that might require old solutions." The Aegis platform continued its orbit around Earth, its true nature now revealed to the world. It wasn't just a museum piece or a backup plan. It was a symbol of humanity's unique approach to progress, the understanding that moving forward doesn't always mean leaving everything behind. As Sarah watched the sun rise over Earth once again, she knew that somewhere, other hidden preparations were waiting. Other old solutions to new problems. And she would make sure they stayed ready, maintained by people who understood that sometimes the best way to face the future is to remember the lessons of the past.